1 week ago today, I showed you guys a 14 floodgate where a druid left after only 3 deaths, claiming that the key was not going to be possible to time it, even though the 4 other people in the group wanted to continue, voted as such. He was the outlier, and he, instead of adhering to the system that Blizzard has put in place for the Mythic Plus pugging system, he said, I don't care, I'm going to go AFK and stop everybody else from having what they wanted here. Well, we're running it back today. The exact same situation, but there's a little bit of a tweak, which we have to talk about here today. You probably have seen these videos already. If you are watching this for the first time, this video is going to be about one guy doing something that 4 other people don't want him to do, and him throwing a fit, acting like a baby, preventing the 4 other people from doing what they want to do. But again, there is a twist here. We will come to that. But before we start with the actual footage, I need to make like a PSA. I feel like I might actually need to make a whole video just on this topic, because all 5 of these so far that I've made have always been littered with comments of people saying things that I feel like I refute in the video, but I guess maybe because it's late in the video or something like that, the message is not clear. So I'm going to make it very, very clear why I am doing what I'm doing and why I am advocating for other people to do what I am doing in this exact situation. There is one person who is trying to cheat. This is cheating. This is no longer something like, well, I can leave any key I want, bro. That's not the case anymore. There's a vote for a reason. The vote doesn't pass, then you are meant to stay in the key. Otherwise, you're meant to leave the key and be penalized for leaving, right? People used to leave keys all the time. I do not know the last time I saw somebody leave a key. You would think that would be a good thing. It is a good thing in my eyes, but it's not universally good, because you have the same situation here where people are refusing to play by the rules Blizzard have set out for them. They don't want to do the dungeon. The vote passes and they refuse to participate in the group that they willingly chose to sign up for, but they won't leave the dungeon either because they're so deathly scared of getting this weird little red triangle next to their character name, I guess, than actually just play by the rules that Blizzard has set out for them in this pugging schema. So you can say like, all right, well, that person is in that boat. Just vote to disband. Don't waste everybody's time and then report the person. But them just threatening to do it is not against the rules. If one person threatens to do it but doesn't actually do it, then they haven't broken the rule. So you can't just say, well, I'm not going to do this key. All right, fine. We'll all quit then and report the guy. That's not going to do anything. He didn't break a rule. So you have to put them in this position here, because otherwise they're going to get away with it scot-free, and they're going to walk into another key and they're going to do the same behavior. My goal with both making these videos, spreading this message, but also behaving the way I'm behaving in these situations is to try to rehabilitate this person. I get it. It doesn't look good the first few weeks of a season where people are acting this way. This is how these people are. They were like that last season. They're like this now. They're just cornered. They're boxed into a corner and they're trying to react in a way that gets them out of that corner as fast as possible. And they think that if they behave this way, people will behave like you guys are saying I should behave and just let them off the hook. I'm not going to do that. I'm not letting these people off the hook, man. I mean, if you are new here, maybe you think that's an option. That's not even remotely an option. Like, you don't understand. I would sit in these keys with these people for 5 hours. If the full stream was this, I'd be fine with this. But it's specifically that way because I'm not going to let these people get away with this and go ruin somebody else's key. I'm not just a tank in game. I'm also a tank in real life at times. I will take the threat so other people can survive. And that is what I'm trying to do in these situations. That is why I'm making these videos, because you should know about these people. Do you want somebody in your group who does this? We just made the video last Monday and I pinned a comment on that video where somebody else came forward and said the player that I was exposing in that video did the same thing to his key. You shouldn't want these people in your group. I don't know why anybody defends them. I get it. It looks like it's a waste of time, but it's a rule that they're breaking. So if you allow them to break the rule, then they're going to keep breaking it. And you may not have wasted your time, but now you've passed that buck on to somebody else, and they're going to have to be in this situation where they don't want to be in, and they might have to be like, well, I'm not going to waste my time, so just let him go. And it just never gets punished, never gets solved. He never actually breaks a rule. Okay, so I hope we're clear on that now. I think that's, I couldn't say it better than that, honestly. So I hope we're clear on that now. We're going to be taking a look again at a floodgate. So there's an amendment on this situation. Like I said, there's a twist on this conversation. Last week, we showed a video of a guy who was totally objectively incorrect about the situation he was describing, where he thought that 3 deaths before the first boss meant the key was not timeable. We are now in the same situation. This is a 15, but this key I'm marking as completion. I like this idea here of timed and then is greater than completion. I've seen a lot of people put this in their titles. I guess maybe I could be wrong about what they're meaning with that, but it always seems to be a group where the player is like, I would love to time this. That's greater than completing it, but we will complete it regardless. I am going to post a message in the chat here in a second, but my goal is to upgrade this key because I do not need a 15 floodgate. It's a resilient key. We talked about this in the last video. My goal is to upgrade this key back into a 16. I only need 4 more 16s for resilient 16, so it's only a 50-50 chance that it's even a key I would need in the first place. So we're going to do a lot of keys that aren't for score while doing this resilient keystone system. Now, before we start the actual review, we do have something funny that happens before the key. I'm doing a ready check and we're getting ready to start the dungeon here. And this hunter is going to make a comment that like the chat just blew up over. The hunter says, I sound poor as fuck, but does anyone have 200 gold to spare for repairs? I bought a WoW token, but it hasn't filled yet. Look at the things in chat that are being said. It's really funny. I kicked this person out of the group. I'm not even going to try to lie to you about it. If you ask for 200 gold when there's multiple world quests in the same zone that you're doing the dungeon in that give more than 100 gold each, sorry, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what would cause this to happen, asking your group to get 200 gold to repair. I'm sorry, that's not a trustworthy player that I want to be in a group with. And again, doing the same thing. Timed, I'm typing it out. I'm keeping it as standard. And then ultimately after this, I have now changed to list it as completion as well. A lot of people have suggested that you just list the keys as completion and then there should be no debate. I don't know. I think it's pretty clear here that this is a completed key. This is not something that should be debated and it still is a debate. So we're going to talk about why, because I think the twist here is actually really unique and really interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot that this happened too. Then we're trying to fill the group and some guy whispers me and says, yo, big damage alt. It's like, what? I don't care. Why would that be important to me? He says, brother in Christ. I don't know why people say this. I said, we're not brothers. He doesn't like that one bit. He says, my bad. You are a low IO main stuck. All right. See you later. Okay. So eventful key. We ultimately end up with a viewer. So we have a rogue who is a viewer. Now the key is totally filled here and I'm about to type something out that I'm going to believe is very much confirmation that everything is clear on what we're doing here and why we're doing it. I typed, hey guys, obviously I don't need this for score myself. Going to try to upgrade it so I have a 16, but I will be looking to finish it no matter what. If you aren't good with that, please leave now. Nobody really replies. The rogue says something just because he's a stream viewer. Nothing else happens. We do the ready check. Ready check seems to pass. Nobody really comments on it and we start the dungeon. So at this point, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on maybe ways I can iterate on this process of making it very clear that anybody signing up for this is signing up for a key that will be a completion no matter what. If you think I did not do enough of a job, feel free to comment that down below. I personally felt like this was more than enough. Like I thought that was very, very, very clear, but there was some conversation afterwards in the next key that the timed is greater than completion thing is not very obvious that we're talking about a completion. Here, let me just show you that too. So I typed it again. This is the next time we did the dungeon again, resilient 15. So we do it again. If you aren't good with completion, leave now, basically. The hunter says, I'd like just to time it. So I guess I will leave. Thanks. I said, what would you rather see in the title to make it more clear then? They said, I thought you wanted to time, not complete. I guess it's confusing. I don't know. To me, this is not confusing. I don't know why I would put the word completion in the title if that wasn't something that we're thinking about, right? Because most keys don't have anything in the title. But again, if you guys have any suggestions on ways to avoid these arguments or these problems from occurring, please let me know. Okay, so we're back to this. Doing pretty much the exact same thing here. We had no issues on the first pull. We don't have somebody doing 40 million DPS on the first pull, but the dungeons group is solid. We know all these people can upgrade this key. Similar moment to last week. We have the Resto Shaman underneath the weak ores here standing next to a bomb. This is just something that should change, honestly, from Blizzard's part, but this bomb is going to explode. It looks like it's going to time out because this person does not move. They're standing there casting spells, does not move, and just gets knocked up into the air and dies. Instantly dies. Actually gets one shot seemingly by that bomb exploding. Then again, this one I do think is the one underneath us here. I think it might actually be the paladin. Yeah, it looks like the paladin walks into it. So the paladin kills themselves and the rogue by walking into that. Priest is going to barely survive that, but we now had just 3 deaths to bombs. So 3 deaths to the same situation. Everything else staying the same. We're coming on over here. Paladin is now laughing at the fact that he just walked into a bomb and died, I guess. We got a cool little tip, quote unquote. I don't know if you would call it a tip, but apparently the architects, wherever you are as the tank, they will build their scaffolding there. So people are saying you should not fear dragging them. See, it's doing rapid construction back there, and I feel like, well, that can't be a good thing. We don't want it to be building it over there, but it is actually going to build it next to me, which is kind of cool. So we're going to combine these, and instead of finishing it here, we are going to effectively wipe this pack. We have 2 casters on the rogue there. They both don't get stopped adequately, and they're going to kill the rogue. So the rogue goes down. That's kind of just bad luck, but also bad interrupts. Rep Pally special coming up here, just absolutely launching holy spells off the corner here. Watch this. See that holy spell that just went flying there? Those spells are aggroing the mobs that are down there, and one of them is going to walk up to this guy. I'm totally unaware that this happened. It's just going to walk up to him and again one-shot him with a melee. We saw that last week. This is the same thing as last week. 5 deaths now at this point, and now look at what the comment gets made is. So this guy just aggroed trash with Divine Storm, dies to it coming up and and meleeing him or pinching him to death. And he says, GG healer. But so at this point, we know we're in trouble here. I mean, this is exact same spot this happened last week. It is actually crazy that this is happening again in almost an identical way. Vote shows up. We're voting no, obviously. Paladin actually comes back, which is kind of weird. Comes back and continues to DPS and then tries to like convince us to quit. And even though we have already shown that this key can probably still be upgraded at this moment, we're not talking about that today because it doesn't matter if it's upgraded or not. But he says, accept 6 deaths. And I said, it's a completion run. Did you not read? And everybody starts laughing at him. The guy actually says sorry and then just starts running away. You messed up. You didn't pay attention, right? To me, it's like obvious. I fucked up. Oh, whatever. I fucked up. I got to pay more attention. Let's just finish the key. This guy, not in that boat. Instead, starts speaking in another language. We're going to take a look at what is said in this other language. Looks like the first comment is him saying that the shaman healer is very weak. I don't know what Enda is supposed to mean, but he said that too. So anyway, you've seen the title. You realize just how long this goes on for. This guy is going to initiate the vote after saying GG healer at 25:39 left in the key. We're going to have a lot of deaths, but we're just going to judge it based on the actual timer on the screen. He is still AFK in this key. We're fast forwarding greatly here. Almost another 25 minutes. Comes back after being AFK a second time and says this. This is like, I waited for him this whole time to see what he has to say for himself after being AFK. And he says, rejoin lol. This is at 24 minutes over the timer now, and then just spams the letter K. Still walking around. I have no idea what he's doing at this point, but then he's ultimately just going to leave the group and walk out of the dungeon. So the viewer who's in here with me starts trying to communicate with him, and I guess it's Portuguese. I guess that's his language this person's speaking. He's on Area 52. Somebody said he's in a different language guild and on one of those original realms. So he says to him in Portuguese, you are a disgrace to your country. Please uninstall. It could have been worse. Comes to my realization now that something might have happened that I did not initially expect. I have been doing keys with people from these realms since Legion. And all the time, I always maintained very firmly that my biggest issue with this realm is not that there's a language barrier, which people have suggested was the cause of it. For years and years and years, we have operated under this premise that originally the problem was the language barrier. People didn't like being judged against because of the language barrier, so they left the realm. The only time people would stay is because they either didn't care about the language barrier, didn't care about the stigma that was on them, or that they were oblivious. Those are the people we run into keys with now, either oblivious, spiteful, or just overall disinterested people in what you have to say about them. That's why Azralan and Ragnaros realms have gotten to be what they are. That's the way I understand it. From the get-go, I've always said the idea of a language barrier is not a concern to me because communication in Mythic Plus Pugging is not that valuable to me. I do not need to speak to these guys. Most of them understand what happens in the game. But guess what? We just found ourselves in a situation where I was fucking wrong. I'm dead wrong. I think what actually happened here is this guy literally cannot read the words that are written. He doesn't understand what the word completion means, and he might not have understood a single word that I typed out when I was asking if he understood that this key was for completion. Because when it gets brought up and we try to communicate with him on this, all he says is sorry. Like, that's not the right word to respond to what's happening here. Sorry means you're actually sorry and you're going to continue. But he leaves anyway, and he goes AFK for 50 minutes like I showed you guys. He's obviously not sorry. So I legitimately think after this conversation and all this talking and him trying to communicate with him in Portuguese, this guy actually doesn't understand that this key is in completion. And I don't know how to fix that. I think no matter what you say or communicate with people, they're still going to ignore it. Even if they do understand it or they don't understand it, it's like irrelevant because people just don't pay attention to the shit they're signing up for. And a lot of times things that you think are obvious are not obvious to other people. So yeah, very, very unique situation. That's why I said this is with a twist, because I think it's very possible that this guy straight up does not understand the words that are coming out of my mouth here. Partially why the system has some flaws. I mean, we talked about this in a video a couple of days ago, but like there are some issues with the system for sure. And yeah, honestly, if you can't understand what's actually happening in the group that you're in, then communication just doesn't help fix it. That was kind of my go-to for explaining all of these problems. Just make sure you're communicating. People are like, well, I joined a key, I only care about score. That should be the default. Well, it's not, unfortunately, not the default. You should communicate with your group to make sure that's what they want, because if they don't want that, they can vote in whatever way they want, and you might be in this position, you might find yourself in this position where you're gonna have to wait 50 minutes like this guy did to get out of the situation you put yourself in. I don't know, this was another crazy one, and just wanted to continue to spread awareness and raise awareness around this topic. If you guys run into this at all, any slam dunks here like this where we have the entire piece of footage is clear that one person is acting totally selfishly here, make sure you guys are recording them, make sure you guys send them in. Happy to make every video on this channel for the next 6 months on this behavior, because as soon as we can either rehabilitate these people or push them out of the pug system entirely, entirely, the better off we will be and the better off we will be in the future. Yes, there are some loopholes, and yes, the system needs iteration. I believe Blizzard will do so, but as of right now, this is a social issue, and we should all act as if we care about the community we're in. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. We're back to streams tomorrow. See you guys in the next one.